Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. It's Irene Kashansky here from Keller Williams Portfolio Realty. And we are honored and very thankful today for James in the city being here with us to share his social media tips and tricks and his best practices. And James was just mentioning that he would really like this to be interactive with you guys. So just as people jump on, we'll repeat this as well so that they know. And I would like to just leave the floor to you, or give you the floor and let you do a bit of an intro and then take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Irene. Glad to be back with you guys, Keller Williams. The last time I was here, I think, was right before the pandemic last year. Either that or it might have been before Christmas even. It was a long time ago.
It was a while.
And I don't recognize any other names here, but nice to see everyone. Like Irene said, my name is James in the City. That's my brand. That's what I go by. I really don't use my last name when I trade in real estate. It's kind of just what people know me as. And I've built my business successfully through social media, specifically Instagram. And I transact 15 to 20 deals a year just from Instagram organically, not paid, not pushed, not boosted, just straight organic communicating with my followers. So we can get into that shortly, but I want this to run as a very informal Q&A. So I want to hear your challenges, what you're going through, not only Instagram, but Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, and see how we can kind of go through what you're facing and how we can tackle those challenges. So whoever has a question wants to start it off, just by all means, please unmute yourself and let's get into it.
James, what do you use something to schedule posts?
I used to, and I have it here. Let me just check.
Or even to like map out your posts so that you like have a calendar kind of?
Yeah, so I can't find the name of the scheduler that I have in here now, but I used to use one that would allow me to basically put my post in with my heading, my hashtags, whatever the case was, and it would go out every single morning at 8:30.
Yeah.
That's when my followers were most interactive with me. Mm-hmm. And it came to the point where I was posting so much that I was almost being shadow banned by Instagram because the algorithm wasn't working to my benefit with the scheduler because it read it as a bot. So if you're going to post with the scheduler maybe 1 to 2 times a week, that's better because then Instagram won't block you. In terms of a calendar, I have a day planner, just like a standard passion planner that almost every realtor uses. And at the top of every single day, I have the heading of my post. So it might not be my full outline of what I'm going to be writing, but it's just my heading. So I know that, every Wednesday is going to be a neighborhood spotlight. And that's kind of my go-to for Wednesdays. Is every Wednesday I feature a new neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I have it scheduled in my calendar that every single day at 8:30 in the morning, my post goes out. I always have the images saved. And depending on the week, if I'm feeling super productive, I'll have all my headings, my hashtags written out per those posts, saved in draft in order. Okay. And then you can kind of just upload it as the days roll in.
James, I'll jump in here. The last time you were with us, you were very kind to forward a 30-day planner type of document for sort of some ideas, because one of the biggest questions that we always hear is, what do I post? What do I say? What do I do? What do I talk about? Yeah. And one of the things that I really appreciated that you said then was, stop overthinking it. Just be you, and just do everyday stuff that you talk about. And I see we've got a few people jumping on here. If you're able to, please turn your video on, because it does make it a lot easier for James to interact if he can actually see a face instead of a name. So if you have that capability, please turn your video on.
For sure. So here, I'll get to you in just a second. Irene, I want to touch on that real quickly. So having a content calendar is great. So I did email Irene one earlier last year. And Irene, if you still have it, by all means, please send it out again. It's a good jumping off point, but that's not your bread and butter. Don't take that as the Bible, as the word of God. Take it as just something to run with, right? That's 30 days to give you ideas to keep moving forward. The easiest way to start when you want to get posting on social media is the KISS acronym. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Or keep it simple, Simon, you want to be PG. But take what your clients are facing, whether they're sellers, they're buyers, they're renters, they're investors, and break out how you can inform them. So maybe you're giving them 5 tips on how to get your house ready for sale. And you could drop 1 tip every Tuesday and call it Tip Tuesday, right? Or you can do a full week. And this is geared just to sellers getting their home ready for the market. Day 1 could be decluttering The next day could be changing light bulbs so the light bulbs in the house are the same color, because that's my biggest pet peeve when I walk into a home and I've got blue light on one side and regular light on the other side, right? Little tips like that will help the home stand out differently. So those are ways to start. We can get more into content ideas later on. Sahir, I see you have your hand raised.
Hey James, so is it advisable to have like a business account as opposed to a personal account?
Yeah, so this is where people get confused when they say business account and personal account. They think personal account is James Milonas is going to post like my cat and what I had for dinner and my vacations, and they think business is just real estate 24/7. The way Instagram has it structured is, or even Facebook, is you have an actual business setting on the page. So it allows you to start reading your analytics, right? So I'm not talking about knowing when my followers are most active. It's because my page is a business page with Instagram, but it's 80-20 personal and business in terms of content, right? So from your Instagram settings, you can just go in and change your account from personal to business. It's a couple of days for Instagram to start catching the algorithm and seeing who is following you, who is watching, what times they're on. Like I can tell you right now, majority of my followers are female, aged 30 to 45, living in downtown Toronto, and they're most active at 8:30 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. And that's the majority of my followers. That's my ideal client. And I've even come to dissect who my followers. I did like a deep dive when I was in Whistler over the holidays and really got to understand who the majority of my followers are. There's a good chunk of realtors because that's realtors follow realtors, but majority of my actual non-realtor followers are females living in downtown Toronto versus males. Does that answer your question, Sahir?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
James, I'm sorry. Hi, I missed a little part. Did you say switch the personal to business or have a separate business account?
I'm not a big fan of having a separate personal account unless you want to have that privacy to post pictures for friends and family. I don't think she's here, but Emma's sister, Katie, she keeps a separate personal account where she posts about her kids and what they do, and they're skating and they're skiing and whatever. And then David and Kate have their business account, but again, through their business page, they have a business account, right? Okay. So that's where you should also be very personal on it as well. So I know after talking with Katie and once Emma got into the business, we started talking about getting more personal on that side and letting people in. Because what you want is when you go on a listing appointment for the person to understand who you are, right? Or when you get a new buyer coming to you, you want them to know everything about you without having to pitch yourself. Because I can tell you my listing appointments are 15 minutes. I don't have to sell myself at all. I walk in, I sign the paperwork, I walk out. Very seldom do I have to compete for a listing because they're following me and they understand who I am. So in your Instagram settings, you can go in and change your account from personal to business, and then that helps you see your analytics. And then over time, Instagram will actually push out into your notifications when's the best time to post, who are your followers, when are they most active, and it'll show you trends. Like Mondays might be a not so good day because people aren't on, right? Or if they're on, it's during a time that you're not going to be available to post something. So it's good to watch.
So James, you've been at this for a while and you have it down pat and you have a great system and you understand all of this, probably instinctively now because you've been at it for so long. Mm-hmm. For others who maybe don't have that same experience or are social media, light, and they do want to get a little bit more proficient and get to a level, perhaps not where you are, but at least improve where they are. How would you suggest they move that along from zero to better?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like anything, right? If you're going to have social media, you need to have a presence. So there's no point in having an account and doing nothing with it. Because if it just sits there, you become a ghost. And I refer to them as these clown profiles online, because you see them, they have like 30 followers, they're following 500 people, and they haven't posted since like October 2018. You don't want to be that person, because when your clientele is going to be looking at you, they're going to say, they're not into this, right? Because every client out there knows that social media is the way to market your properties. So if you can't be out there selling yourself and marketing your services, how are you going to expect, how are they going to expect you to market their homes, right? So the easiest way to start would just be do something, right? And it could very well be showcasing what you do at work, right? Introduce yourself. If you don't have a social media account whatsoever, the first thing you can do is grab your phone, snap a selfie. Hey guys, I'm James in the city. I work in Toronto. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams Portfolio. and I service Lawrence Park, Hogs Hollow, and whatever the case is, right? Follow along for daily real estate tips, marketing hacks, how to prepare your home for sale, an insight into luxury real estate, whatever it is you want to be known for, right? When I say the word luxury real estate, every single realtor in Toronto wants to be a luxury real estate agent. Here's the thing, we all sell luxury real estate. At the end of the day, luxury is not a price point, it's an experience, right? So if you're giving your clients an insight into the experience that you give, you're a luxury realtor. You don't need to be like Richard Silver or Elise Callis to call yourself a luxury broker, right? Real simple. That's my little thank you from my TED Talk moment. Does that help, Irene? I know I tend to like really go all over the place and come back into it, just how my brain works. I'm an Aquarius. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have anything along those lines or something specific that, you know, if you haven't quite gotten going in the social media world, do you have some specific questions that James can answer to help you get there?
Hey, Michael.
Michael, you're muted.
Hi guys, sorry. So James, how do you get so many followers? Like I've been organically doing my followers, so I'll follow people that I know and stuff, but I'm having a hard time getting stratospheric numbers of followers.
So I can tell you, it's taken me 8 years to get there, which is weird because it's taken me 8 years to get to 13,500 followers on Instagram. It's taken me 6 months to get to like 8,000 on TikTok. It just comes down to consistency, right? Yeah. The thing is, Instagram is one of those platforms where people tend to just scroll through, right? Because they're doing it while they're driving. Not saying that I'm guilty, but I am. They're doing it when they're watching TV. They're doing it, honestly, when I'm on a random Zoom call with I serve at the board of directors for RIA, if I'm bored during the financial talk, I'm not gonna lie, I sit there, I scroll through Instagram, right? I'm like, this is cool. I'm over the financial part. We're not really engaging. We're just kind of watching. And that's really what happens with Instagram sometimes. So you have to have good content or good photos that are going to attract someone to come in to look at you, right? So that's number one. Number two is being consistent. So you have to be at it every single day. And number three, you have to be social, right? You can't just post a photo and expect someone to just follow you out of the blue. You have to engage with people. So what I like to do is every morning, 30 minutes before my actual, so at 8 o'clock in the morning, I will start engaging with random accounts online. And it might be those who use the hashtag Toronto, those who might use the hashtag TTC, whatever it is that I'm going to be posting about that day, or in my neighborhood, whatever the case is, I want to engage with at least 30 of those accounts. I'm not following them because Instagram really screws the algorithm. If you follow someone, they follow you back right away. You want to just engage, very soft, almost like when you're dating, right? You want to just like show the shoulder a little bit. Just get in there. Sorry, guys, I'm really sarcastic. You want to get in there slowly, right? So you want to like their photo. You want to drop a comment, right? Great photo. Thanks for the tip, whatever the case is. And eventually they're going to start looking at your content back. Because if you're on before you post for 30 minutes, those people are still going to be active after you post it. So they're going to come back and check out your content. And they might like what you have, and they're going to follow you back. Does that help?
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
That's really smart.
And would you suggest that for Facebook as well as Instagram?
Absolutely. So Facebook is a hard one to really get followers because no one really follows Facebook accounts. You just kind of add friends. The problem I find with Facebook, and this is where I'm kind of doing a Facebook detox, where I'm going through and removing all the realtors who I haven't communicated with in a year. So my day starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? I have my social media routine starting at 5 a.m. where I go and I drop happy birthday messages to everyone who has a birthday that morning. And then I go through my friends list and I start at A and I go down to Z, and I just take away those accounts that have been there for so long, right? Those random mortgage brokers we had at a conference, some random realtor in Calgary that you'll never transact with, right? I like to keep the ones that are in my market because it's good for referrals. I like to keep the ones that are outside my market, again, good for referrals and strategic alliances, plus the general public. And I go through and I communicate with them. So Facebook's really hard to kind of get followers on that side. Your Facebook business page, don't worry about how much followers or how many followers you have on that account. I would focus more on growing your following on Instagram versus Facebook, because most people are not watching your Facebook business account because Facebook is really odd with the way promotions work on Facebook. I was just going to say something, Irene. I lost my train of thought. So if anyone has a question, please jump in and it'll come back to me.
So you said followers on Facebook and business page, don't bother with Facebook because the algorithms are different.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you think about LinkedIn for an example, right? Mortgage brokers are the prime example for this because they are literally, there's a word I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. Mortgage brokers, the minute you add them on LinkedIn, they email you right away. Hey, thanks for connecting with me. Here's my rates. I got the best rates in the city. Realtors are no different. You add a realtor on Facebook, or a realtor will add you on Facebook. It might be the general public. It might be yourself. The first thing they do is added, and here's my Facebook business page invitation, right? Don't worry so much about growing that. It'll happen organically, right? When you're boosting your property photos, when you're running ads, you'll organically gain followers on your Facebook page just through posting, right? It's really hard to grow the way you would on Instagram because it's not as interactive.
How active are you on LinkedIn?
Oh, so again, when I was in Whistler, I did a deep dive on all my social media and I wanted to really figure out who my audience is. And I've broken it down to Facebook and LinkedIn really is the Gen X and boomers for my clientele, my following, right? It's not going to be the same for everyone, but for my following, LinkedIn and Facebook is more boomer and Gen X. So I'm still communicating with people there and usually the same message as Instagram, but I'm not as active on it because really the majority of my followers on LinkedIn are going to be realtors, mortgage brokers, home appraisers, and the likes. Right, most of my professional clientele I'm getting through Instagram just because it's my generation, because I'm a millennial and even the Gen Zs. So there is a good opportunity to market on LinkedIn, especially now that they've created LinkedIn stories. So it's the same thing as Instagram stories, where you can create beautiful content on your Instagram stories, save them, and then re-upload them to LinkedIn, and it'll get the conversation rolling.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm telling you, social media, you can spend hours on it. The one thing I will tell you to spend the least amount of time on is Twitter. Unless you are a politician, spend no time on Twitter because there's no business there.
I think that's you know we know that social media is your one thing, but it's really important for everybody to know that it's not just you wake up and do a post and all of a sudden business falls into your lap. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, James gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and that's when his day starts. We should chat at that time of day because I'm up then too.
Perfect. Honestly, I'm up because I have a routine, right? I like to get up and get things started first thing in the morning because my partner's not usually up until about 7:30. That gives me 2 to 2.5 hours of solid time to focus on myself and my social media. That way, when he gets up, I have time to spend with him before we both head into work mode. And I also like getting up early. Sending those Facebook messages for happy birthdays are great because it's usually the first one that people see in the morning, right? If I'm sending you a happy birthday message at 5:30 in the morning, you're like, oh damn, like I'm special, right? It's nice when 12 o'clock when Facebook notifies you that it's so-and-so's birthday, right? You feel more personal on that side. Guys, I'm not moderating the chat, so if you are asking questions, just by all means unmute yourself.
I'm watching.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a pretty casual group here, so if anybody has questions, I think Janice, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, James, about hi, by the way.
Hi, Janice. The
difference between or your thoughts on a Facebook page versus a group.
Okay. So in terms of your business page or just like a fan page, like what can you go into that deeper?
For in a business setting.
Okay, so a Facebook business page would be kind of like, and again, to be RICO, I'm not RICO compliant. I'm proud to say that I am not RICO compliant. My James City page is so not compliant. The thing is, RICO doesn't police, right? So they're not going to tell you that.
Kate is here.
It's not RICO. Kate's Trev. She won't report me. But your broker and I read Phil's the broker at your office, right? Yeah. So your broker will be monitoring your page, right? So make sure you are RICO compliant.
Thank you.
So if Janice, if your business page was Janice Girardi, real estate broker, Keller Williams, whatever that is, right, to be RICO compliant, that's your business page. Leave that as is. Facebook groups, in my opinion, worked 10 years ago. Right, like these community groups, they worked 10 years ago, and I've actually just left most of them because I couldn't handle the amount of complaining from people who live in these neighborhoods. Right, that's what it comes down to. So and so doing construction on my street. There's a crane here. Oh my God! Oh, that house sold for $300,000. We're acting realtors are the scum of the earth. You don't want that on your page, right? You don't want to manage that. You don't want to have to worry about that. I wouldn't spend a lot of time hosting one of those groups. What I would do, if you have a big database and you got a good loyal, what's the word I'm thinking of now?
Following?
Not following. There's a word I'm trying to think of, and oh my god, I'm having such a total moment right now. Like I need more coffee. Basically, like if you have people who promote you, the word is in my head. It starts with an A. I can't think of it.
Advocates?
Thank you. I can go home now. If you've got a good amount of advocates in your database, you want to create maybe like a VIP group of them, right? Maybe they transact with you 2 to 3 times in a couple of years, or they've referred you more than 5 times. Like those are your like A+ VIP, what I will do whatever it takes to make you happy kind of client, right? And maybe you run a VIP group for them, and it's the Janice Girardi VIP client group, however you want to word it, right? And you run contests in there. The same way you would do for your public on social media, on Instagram, you do it privately in there. Maybe that's where you host your virtual events. Maybe that's where you communicate with them for, in-person events when we're allowed to do them again, right? So instead of having your entire database in there, because that's what your CRM is for, you take your A's and you make them in a small little community, and then they can converse with each other and realize that, they might have something in common. And I'm only going to pick on Katie because I've known her for so long. Katie's clients all probably are the same type of clientele. Like they're young moms, working moms, they might live in the same neighborhood, right? And they're all friends outside of Katie. Maybe they don't know that until they get in that group, right? You're going to realize that a lot of your followers have that same kind of connective tissue in the back end. And it could be something like, case in point, I did 3 deals this summer. All 3 people worked at Deloitte. I had no idea that they knew each other. It's just when I posted one person's photo on Instagram, congratulations, so on and so forth, the other person commented, hey, I work with them at Deloitte. And then that's how the cycle began. And I kind of created this whole little conversation of these 3 clients who all work at Deloitte, me not knowing that they were all intertwined.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's such a great idea. I agree with you on the Facebook groups. They were great when they started. I have a friend in Boca Raton named Nikki Klein, and she started her mom's Facebook group 5-6 years ago. She had last year she had 11,500 members in the group because she had been working on it for so long, and because she was individually adding people that she would vet. She categorically does not allow any other realtors in that group. So for her, that group really works. But who can manage 11,000 people? Yes. And you're right. I mean, it does tend to be a complaining session for a lot of groups. So I love that idea of a little VIP group of your best clients. Where did you go? You jumped on my screen.
No, I'm here.
That's such a great idea. Thank you.
They worked really well, again, like 10-ish years ago. And if you've had one for that long, continue using it, but don't try and start one now for like a community group, because they don't work the same way that they used to, right? Because every other realtor is doing the same thing, right? There's 58,000 realtors in Toronto. Half of them are probably in North Toronto, right? And they might all have similar style neighborhood association groups. It just gets a lot for the client base and for the public. I would focus more on your database and make them feel more like VIPs.
That's awesome.
Do we have any other questions that we want to?
Do we have some other questions? No, everybody is pretty quiet in the chat.
I'll ask another question if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your favorite kind of posts? I mean, I know always giving back and, giving home buyer tips or seller tips. Like, do you do videos? Do you use BombBomb Video, or do you just do little videos under that minute threshold on Instagram or whatnot?
Okay, yeah, so that's like 30 questions in one, so we'll break it right down. So my favorite kind of posts are personal. If you look at my social media, look at my Instagram, 90% of the photos on there are me, right? And that's what's getting people to interact with me, because it might be something that I'm wearing, might be the location that I'm in, but the heading is always real estate related, right? So it's giving them that personal side into, this is what James is doing, but then here's my caption of real estate. And it's a variety of things. It could be neighborhood spotlight, it could be a tip, it could be a testimonial, but it always comes back to a photo of myself. That's how I built it. In terms of video, I don't use BombBomb. I find I don't have the attention span to stare at a screen for 30 seconds to record a video, and they don't read as authentic to me. And I feel like they're very, very American. Please don't kill me. Very American, and that's how they come across, right? So I'm not a big fan of BombBomb. To me, it's too sales. It's not personal enough. I'd rather send you a DM or a text or a voice note. and I'm a millennial. I will not call you. The only person I really answer the phone for outside of my partner is Katie, because she's the only person who ever calls me. So I don't answer my phone, and I don't call my clients. I do not call my client base, because again, they're all millennials and they're young professionals. They don't have time to get on the phone with me. They'd rather read my DM in between meetings, in between Zoom calls while they're running to catch a coffee. That's just who my client base is. In terms of videos, I used to do a lot of IGTV, but I found as everything was changing, IGTV became too long. People's attention span are this big, it's minuscule. So I was focusing more efforts on stories, and then now Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels really is like TikTok, but on Instagram, or YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts, that's a whole other thing that I haven't even gotten into yet, because YouTube to me is a thing of that. YouTube to me is like Twitter, right? You go to Twitter to look about politics and read about the coronavirus. You go to YouTube to watch videos of like kittens and new cars, right? That's really what YouTube's for. So I wouldn't focus a lot of time on curating content on YouTube. What I would do is, if you're an active farmer, if you're like a good real estate farmer, and you're interviewing people in your community, or you've got a lot of great listings that you've done lifestyle videos on versus the standard like slow motion moving through the house, and here's the faucet and there's the light switch, but actually like lifestyle videos. And I'm going to reference Mark Arnstein, because I think he does a killer job with it. He used to do more of them, but that style of video, throw them up on your YouTube channel. You've already paid for them. Get it up there, because your YouTube channel will act as your secondary website, right? It's more for validation. So don't go out there and try and curate content for YouTube out of the blue, but if you have these videos, get it up there. But in terms of what I like to post on my social media is more Instagram stories for video and Instagram Reels. Again, IGTV to me is too long. I don't have the attention span. I don't expect YouTube either.
What is Reels? I've seen it. I've done Instagram Live, and I've seen the Reels, and I haven't actually pressed it. So what is it?
Yeah, so Reels really is like these quick. I think Instagram has a shorter window than TikTok. TikTok allows you to go up to 60 seconds. It used to only be 15 seconds, right, for one video. It's a very short window to get something across. I think Instagram now has it like 25 or 30 seconds to do a reel, and it's like a little fast moving video with great sounds, and you can add text over it. It's a little more interactive than an IGTV or a regular post. Instagram always likes to be number one, right? Because they're part of Facebook. They always like to be number one. So when TikTok came out and did so well, Instagram was like, you know what? I'm going to get into that same business. I'm going to start Instagram Reels. So they are pushing these Reels out to your following and to the general public, because they want to grow that platform. The only negative is Instagram doesn't have the same sound band as TikTok does, or the same effects that TikTok does. So what I do for my Reels is I post them on TikTok first. I can edit it all on there, download it, and then upload it to Reels. That's a whole other, that's one that we should almost do in person, make that interactive. So when things do open up and we can get in a group, even if we sit outside on lawn chairs, just we're, more than 10 people, it's just one that you have to kind of go through together versus me preaching it via a screen that I can't screen share because it doesn't work online versus my phone. If you guys are feeling overwhelmed, please tell me, because this is my bread and I go on all day and I talk in circles.
No, this is awesome. I'm making a ton of notes for sure. For sure.
Okay. What challenges are you guys facing with your social media? Instead of questions, like what challenges are you having right now?
Anybody?
Okay, well, I mean, I'll go into it.
Sure.
One of my challenges right now is I have been bombarded by trolls online. I get trolls on the daily, right? And it's on every platform. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's LinkedIn, and it can get to you, right? And you just have to kind of delete that comment and move on, because it's almost like when someone leaves you a negative review, you don't want that shown. You want that deleted, removed, or hidden somewhere so no one sees it, and move on. So I know a lot of people who might not have thick skin can get affected by these comments, right? You almost just have to, like a duck, water off a duck's back, let it go, right? Block and move on, and keep doing what you were doing, because there's a lot more people who are loving what you're doing than hating what you're doing. What I've witnessed over the last couple of months, the people who are hating what you're doing are either jealous of your success or can't afford what you're posting. And I know this sounds really elitist and really snobby, but it's true, because a lot of people who are hating out there hate the Toronto real estate market because it has just exploded in the last 5 years and has no plans on stopping. So that's my biggest challenge. I do see here has his hand up, and there was a comment I just saw about consistency. Okay, so we'll get in a second. See here, floor is yours.
Yeah, so I'm a new agent, right? So something I'm finding challenging is like I do post content, but like people might be seeing me as a new agent as opposed to someone being more experienced or something. So how should I overcome that?
Yeah, okay. So how old are you? See here?
29.
You're 29. Okay, so you're 7 years later than when I started, and you have facial hair, so that's a big help. I've had this face other than Botox for the last 10 years, and I look like a child. So I'm 21, 22 when I started, and I was selling in Richmond Hill in South Richvale. So for those of you who know Richmond Hill, South Richvale is kind of like the Rosedale of the North. That's where I grew up. My grandfather was the first builder in that pocket, building the McMansions back in the 90s, early 2000s. That's what I wanted to sell because I knew the product. Nobody took me seriously because I was new. I was 21, 22. I looked like a baby, right? I didn't know what I was doing with the industry, and I was a bit arrogant, right? I didn't want to work with a partner because I thought I knew it all, and I came across cocky, and I came across as a know-it-all, and it really hurt me. So I started, and then I realized that wasn't my market. That wasn't my clientele. That wasn't really who I am in the core. So I started taking my business downtown, and that's how James City came about. So once I started selling product that I was comfortable with, people started looking at me differently. And I can go up on a listing appointment now. I've only been in the business 8.5 years. I can go up for a listing appointment with some of the top agents in North Toronto and not have any issues because I carry myself in a different way. So don't let the inexperience of being a new realtor hold you back. Don't worry about the perception of people not taking you seriously is more your perception than theirs. If you carry yourself with the right amount of confidence versus cockiness, you're going to excel. There's a lot of new realtors out there who haven't sold anything, but carry it like they've been selling for 10 years, and they've done well for themselves.
Okay.
Right? One thing you could do too, and this is not related to social media, is call someone in your office, role play, like someone who's really experienced who can throw you some good objectives. That's what I found helped the best for me was objection handling through role play. And I would always use the toughest agents in my office to play with because they would throw some stupid objectives. And if you can answer it like that, the clients are going to be eating out of the palm of your hand.
So here we've got some scripts and role play links for daily practice that we'll send over to you for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Of course. Is it Mahinathan? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Mahinathan.
Mahinathan. Okay, so posting consistently. Yeah, that can be a challenge because I know we all get busy. The easiest thing to do, and I know it sounds so easy when I say it, but it's just schedule it in your calendar. The same way you would schedule a listing appointment or you would schedule a workout, go into your Google Calendar, write in whatever time of day that you think your people are going to be most engaged or you're going to have the time to go and post, set an alert for yourself. Could be 8:30 in the morning like I do, could be 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that way every single day you know to post. Writing it down also helps. When you have a calendar to write with, it also, because you can look through and cross off day by day.
I think that's great.
Are you posting every day?
Yes, sir. Every single day, even when I'm on vacation. Because I know you can't see it with my green screen, but if I looked at my, let me just pull it up here. If I was to go into my drafts on Instagram, and you can't really see it. You know, let me turn my back. I'm just hiding in my closet. We're renovating downstairs. So I'm hiding in my closet.
That's great.
So, okay. If you can see here, I always have a draft of photos going. So these are my next 7 days worth of Instagram photos. So I know that for 7 days, I have content ready and scheduled in my calendar to go out. Every single morning, I come on 8:30 in the morning, click the post. Headings are already done. Like if I was to go into this post here, this one's pretty personal, right? So it talks about like how I got into real estate because I get a lot of questions in my DMs. How did you start? So I wrote this post a little bit more personal than I would some other posts. And it's got my heading, it's got my body, and it's got my hashtags. So every single post is the same. One thing I can tell you that really has helped me in the last 4 years of my social media is a formula I like to call ROI. It's relevance, it's omnipresence, and the most important is intimacy. And that's one that people always forget about because realtors are afraid to post anything outside of real estate, right? You need to be intimate with your people. That's how I can take my listing appointments to 15 minutes, because people know exactly who I am, because they're connecting with me online in a way that they might not connect with another broker because they're not being intimate. Because most realtors are so focused on the transaction versus the relationship, and it doesn't allow you to be personal. By letting people in behind the screen of what my life is, it allows them to connect with me on a level that you wouldn't know otherwise. I shared a story earlier. I got a lot of flack for it, both from realtors and from the general public for posting this. But this July, I will be 12 years clean from narcotics. I was addicted to cocaine in high school, and I shared that on my video on TikTok, and I got dragged over the coals for posting that. People were like, "You're unprofessional. No one's ever going to want to work with you." And it was hard to read those comments. I'm like, here I am letting people in, but I connected with people who were in the same boat. And I signed a client who's a $2 million buyer for 488 University from that post, who herself is 14 years sober. So it lets people in. I was on a call a few years back with an agent in California, and him and his wife been trying to get pregnant. And this is how we started getting into the intimate side of things. Him and his wife been trying to get pregnant, and it turned out that it wasn't the wife was having the problem, it was him. He just didn't have a strong sperm count. And he posted about that and the challenges of what it was like being, being a male going through infertility. And he connected with so many people in this local group that he was in that it built his business. And he did 15 deals from that post alone. Like, not, in the next 5 days, but people came to him through that post, right? I've almost nailed my social media down to a science where I know if I post something today, that in 6 or 7 months, I'll get either a lead, a client, or a paycheck. Because I can watch who I'm communicating with, and I write them down. Every single deal that comes to me through social media is marked as social media. Even if you're in my email database, either if you are in my CRM, if you're on my mailers, if you've contacted me through social media, you are a social media lead, because that's where I am being the most personal with you. And that's where I'm doing most of my communication. Yes, relevance, omnipresence, and intimacy. Okay, that was that.
We had Annie asks, how many hashtags do you recommend to use on a feed?
No more than 30. So Instagram has a cap at 30. Facebook doesn't really search a lot of hashtags. They've been trying to promote and push them through over the last couple of years, but Facebook kind of does one of these with hashtags. They peak and valley, and they're not really consistent with pushing content through hashtags. Instagram does, and Instagram allows you to put no more than 30. My sweet spot has always been something in the 20s, 25, 26, because I'm trying to target a broad range of people, right? If you're just looking to get started with, and you don't know what hashtags to put up there, I would do 13. Pick 13 hashtags related to that post, related to your business, related to your community, whatever the case is. And the easiest way to do it is to simply go on your Instagram search bar, put in the pound sign, and then whatever word you want beside it, right? Could be North Toronto, could be Lawrence Park, could be Yorkville, and just see the hashtags underneath it and see who's following it. The one I don't like to use a lot, even though I do use them consistently because it reminds people that I'm in the business, is the hashtag realtor, hashtag real estate. Every single broker, every single brokerage, every single realtor, every single sales rep, every single mortgage broker uses those hashtags. So sometimes your posts get lost in the shuffle. So you want to use things like Toronto Life, condo living, real estate hacks, real estate marketing, real estate investing. So I'm not going to repeat them because this is being recorded. So Irene will push this out to you guys when you're done. But you want to use things that are related to your industry, but kind of outside your industry, right? Especially if you're a neighborhood farmer, you really want to get deep with the neighbor that you work in, right? Hashtag those local business who might have their own local hashtag, right? Let me think here. The Four Seasons, right? If you farm Yorkville, the Four Seasons hashtag is searched readily by people, right? Not only in Toronto, but across the world, because a lot of people who are traveling into the city stay at the Four Seasons, right? So you want to push those posts into that group as well. Because let's think about it. And we've been talking about this at my brokerage for years. And I know Keller Williams has a luxury portfolio and an international presence. The real estate market isn't just local. The buyers might be, The real estate that's happening is local, but your audience is completely global. So you want to talk about, you want to get that into your hashtag as well, right? Not every single hashtag needs to be something about globally connected. Every so often, throw it in there, remind people, use that as a leveraging tool. I have used stories with my client base when I go on an appointment or through my marketing, where I can talk about a property that the buyer saw it in Abu Dhabi, flew on the next flight to Richmond Hill and bought this house for his son who was looking for a house in Richmond Hill, right? And they saw my ad through July, and that's how we connected. So talk about that in your marketing. And again, that brings it back to intimacy, into storytelling, right? You have to remember, we're not realtors. We're realtors third. But before that, we are marketers, and then communicators. Put the wrong finger up first. My bad. We're marketers and then communicators, right? So we're marketers, communicators, and then realtors. That's how it is. Because if you can't market your product and you can't communicate it to your public, how can you actively sell it?
That's great.
Right? That's a good one.
That's very good.
So I have another question as well. Do you promote, or when you were growing your audience, did you promote a lot of your Instagram stories and posts and stuff?
So I never used to. I made the mistake back in 2014 and into part of 2015, where I hired a company to kind of grow my social media. And this is where social media marketing wasn't where it's at now. And it did a lot of damage to me, because the person who I had hired basically was, using bots to grow my account. And they were following random people and then unfollowing them the next day, or they were dropping random comments on people's posts. And when I realized that this was the wrong thing to be doing, was one of my followers posted about her grandma passing away. The bot commented, "That is so cool, great post." I was mortified. So I stopped using that. In terms of promotions through Instagram, up until last year, I never paid for a single thing. I'm at the point now where I need to scale a little bit more. I've been kind of consistent across the board from Instagram, doing 15, 20 deals just through IG, and I want that number to double. So I have been promoting some posts, not every single post, because it becomes a lot to see my face over and over and over again. But there are certain posts that might be relevant to certain price points, to certain targets, to certain audiences that I will push. So generally my Tip Tuesday, I'll promote, and I'll do it for a period of 2 to 3 days, and I'll throw like $100 behind it, right? Because remember, the more money you put behind it, the more exposure you get. I don't let them running for a long period of time, because I want people to see new content versus the same thing over and over and over again.
James, how do you decide whether you do a quick video, like for the reel or for a story, or just a static photo?
I would say judge the audience and the message you're going to put out there, right? If it's, again, I'm going to go back to Katie, because she just posted it this morning, or I guess Emma might have posted it, but you guys have a listing on, I think it's Sudan, right? And you post that little nook underneath the stairs in the basement. That's a great still photo, because it talks about design and architecture without talking about design and architecture. What would be really cool to do on a video was if that house had a built-in wine fridge, right? Or a really great walk-in closet, something that you can't get the feeling of from a video or from a photo, and you want to get that feeling through a video. That's how I would play it.
And what about when it's you doing something? You're filming or photographing yourself. It's you, and you're doing something about you. Is it always video?
So, sort of. My general feed is normally just still photos. Every so often I'll throw in a video in there. And if I do post a reel to Instagram, I don't post it to my feed. I just post it to reels, because you can split how you want it to be seen. I like to keep my timeline very appealing, I guess. So I have like a little filter that I use, so like every square is kind of inset a little bit, so it's a nice, like, appealing aesthetic. In terms of like what I do, like through my stories, yeah, it could be, I got up today and I went for a hike, and then I had lunch in Yorkville, and I showed condos A, B, and C, and then I stopped here for a drink, or whatever the case is, right? And letting people in. I don't do it every single day, but every so often I let people into that side to see, what do I do? What does my day look like, right? And it gives them a glimpse into things that they might want to interact, they might want to see what you're doing, because they might give them an opportunity to do the same thing, right? Like when I posted about ordering Valentine's Day dinner from Louis at the St. Regis, a lot of people were like, "Hey, I didn't know that they did takeout," right? Because that 13-layer chocolate cake. I ordered just for that cake, and I ate the whole thing, and I'm not ashamed. But I had a lot of people connect with that post, right, with that story. They were like, hey, that cake looks good. Where's that cake from? How do I get it? And you become kind of like that local expert. And you want that interaction. You want people to connect and get into it and really converse with you.
So here, did you have your hand up again, or was it up?
Yeah,
or
I
was it
did.
down?
But he answered the question in his last post. It was about Instagram stories. So I already got the answer.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, again, like I talk in circles and it all kind of comes back at one point near the end anyways.
Yes, you do land the plane. Thank you. That's awesome.
You know, because like I'm such an Aquarius, like my brain works in so many weird ways that it eventually comes back at some point. So what other questions do we have? We've kind of gone to a lot of different topics here. What are we feeling? What do we have questions about? What do we have problems with?
I'm getting better at consistency.
I have to say you are. I've been watching.
Thank you. Yes, it's a challenge. And I think, you know, for anyone that joined us after I mentioned this last time, it's not just a throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. You have to have a plan, and you have to become consistent. The only way that you will become consistent is by becoming consistent and making it a routine. I mean, you heard James, he's very, very organized, and he does things, you know, pretty much the same time every day. And when you build that habit, you will just naturally become consistent because that's your routine. That's what you do.
Mm-hmm. Michael has a question here. Where did you learn to use all these apps? Trial and error. Really trial and error. It was just taking the time to play with them, get to use them, get to know them. Again, I'm gonna phrase this in a way that might come across not PG, but if you are having problems with a certain platform, maybe look at someone who is in a different age bracket to help you. I know this is going to sound really, really rude, but this is how I've explained it to agents in my office as well. Because if you know what brokerage I'm from, you know a lot of agents there are elderly and they want help with social media, but they want to try to do it themselves. So I let them do it on their own, and when they have issues, they come back to me. So it's trial and error, play with it, but then book a one-on-one with someone, right? Like if we open up in a couple of weeks and we can be in person again, Michael, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and walk through Instagram and how to use it, right? What I would suggest is don't do every single platform if you can't invest your time in every single platform, right? To me, social media is my marketing, right? That is my farming, that is my database, that is my daily phone calls. That is where I spend most of my time because that's what gets me the most yield on my return. I don't door knock, I don't cold call, I don't call in general. Using my social media for me is my moneymaker. So I invest a lot of time into it. But if your demographic is a Gen X or Boomer, spend more time on Facebook versus trying to target Instagram at the same time, because you can't do it all unless you have someone on your team dedicated just to do marketing, and then they can run with it for you, right? But trying to do it all on your own, if it's not something you're comfortable with, don't do it.
And it's focus, right? Like you're very, very focused. This is what works for you. It is your one thing, and you are getting really, really good at it. You can't be good at too many different things. So you're going to be spread too thin, and you really have to concentrate and focus, right?
Yeah, I mean, I tried a whole bunch of things over the years. Like for me, social media is always my number one, just because it's my demographic. But I tried door knocking. And I gave it a lot. Like I went into it for like almost a year on both methods. Everyone worked for me. I didn't connect with it. I wasn't authentic with it. Right. So if you're going to be more authentic on Facebook, leave Instagram alone. It's not going to come across real, and you want people to feel like you're real.
Yeah, that's the thing these days is as everyone tries to pile in and find the new thing, the authenticity gets lost, and that's what differentiates you is you're real.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's talking about your history or talking about what's going wrong, that's what people relate to, right?
Yeah, and I think one thing realtors are afraid of is they're always afraid of not being professional, right? Swear. If you're filming and you happen to cuss, don't cut it out. I'm telling you, the public loves that shit. They laugh at it, they connect, because it makes them feel like you're a real person versus this rigid suit and tie person all day long, right? They want you to be human. And when you're going on a listing appointment, you want them to feel like they know you. I'm telling you right now, when I go on an appointment, the first thing people ask me is, how's Scott? That's my partner. And are the shoes that I'm wearing new? Because people know that I have a shoe obsession, and I'm literally sitting in my shoe closet. And that's what people connect with, right? Because that's what we've connected on, and then they connect with it on the presentation, and then it just rolls from there. So here?
Yeah, so if you go for showings with a buyer or something, right, is it okay to post those houses or like interiors on Instagram or something, or do we need permission prior to doing that?
Is Katie still here?
No.
Okay, so
Did I close my ears?
asking permission to post. So basically what Treb's governance has come down to is you can post as long as there's nothing identifiable, right? So maybe if there's like a cool lamp or a great view or the kitchen is completely fantastic, if you don't mention, you know, the address or whatever the case is, you might say the neighborhood. It could be, you know, welcome to so-and-so house in Lawrence Park, 3 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 3.2 million, whatever the case is. If you don't mention the address, that kind of helps. So it's not like people are targeting that property. And nothing identifiable, right? But almost always ask for, I mean, always, not almost always, always ask for permission from the LA if you can promote that or tour it and post it on social. Times are different. If you were to ask most realtors a few years back, they would say no. But now I think people want that exposure. They want that help, right? Because the market's weird. Things will either sell in an hour, or like the listing I just posted on Monday has had 2 showings and it's priced under $1 million, and I'm kind of freaking out. So some people do want that help with promotion, right? But there are going to be people who have egos who just don't want anyone but them talking about their listings.
There's actually a brokerage also that does not allow promotion of any of their listings or photos.
I can imagine.
Entire brokerage, yep.
Michael, I went through your house this week and the LA said I could take a picture or 2, but no videos. Some like it, some don't. Yeah, there are, I mean, even in my office, right, where the brokerage owns the listing, I always ask for permission, but there are 2 agents in my office who flat out are, no, they don't want anyone touching their listings, which I get it. Sometimes you want to help them, but if they don't want the help, then you just have to kind of move on and find something else.
Great question from Ani, I'm sorry. Are you reading it? What if you're camera shy?
I was reading Ani's question. What if you're camera shy? Is there something else you would suggest? Yeah, you don't really have to be in front of the camera. There's so much that goes on behind the camera, and you can almost tell the story from your eyes, right? I like to be in front of the camera because I'm obnoxious and a snob, and I want people to know my face, and I've been on TV for years, so I'm comfortable with it. But if I was a little more introverted, I would tell the story from my eyes. I would hold the camera right up here, right? And almost at eye level. This is what you were seeing from James and City's perspective. And maybe this is what you're seeing from Ani's perspective, right? That's how you want to title it, or whatever the cases you want to do. You got to get creative with it and tell the story from your eyes. What are you seeing, right? Almost, and this is going to sound really weird, but describe what you are seeing if you're going to stay behind the camera as if the person behind you is blind, right?
Ooh, I like that.
Paint that story. Use those adjectives. Get creative with it. Because if you're not going to be personal with it and you're going to stay behind the scene, give them something to connect on, right? Paint that story. Make them feel connected in a way that they feel like they are in that exact room with you at the exact same time.
Love that. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions, challenges?
I bet you when we finish this, people are going to go, oh, I should have asked that.
I mean, what I'll do is I'll just drop my Instagram handle in the comments.
Is that your preferred way of communication, James?
Yes, it's where I respond to most frequently, but also put my phone number as well. But remember, I am a
just don't call. Just text him. Don't call.
Yeah, please text, don't call, because I will not answer. Literally, like I said, guys, you think I'm joking. I always tell Katie every time she calls me, I'm like, what? This could have been a text message, right? I don't like sitting on the phone. And it's not for any other reason other than I get distracted, right? I zone out because I'm not looking at someone. That's why I like when your camera's on, I can see you versus just seeing your names on a black box. On a phone call, I do this. And I nod and I get bored, right? So that's why I don't like talking on the phone so much. But if you text me, I'm interactive with you because I can see you typing back, especially if you're on iChat. I hope that helps.
That's awesome, James. Thank you so much. We always appreciate your wisdom and all of your little nuggets and the big nuggets. Forever grateful.
Of course, thank you for having me back.
We will have this recorded for anyone that wants to listen and pause, because there's so many great ideas. You know what I would love, just because we have a couple of more minutes, I would love, we call them ahas in Keller Williams, just anything that you've learned that you didn't know before. Me
personally?
No. From our you know everything.
I'm tapped out.
No, that was awesome. Yeah, we all learn from each other, and when we hear somebody else say something that they learned, it registers for us as well. So anybody want to share?
Being a little bit more human.
Yeah, that's a good one, Michael. Honestly, it's going to allow people into this other side of you, right? And don't be afraid to post when you're at the cottage, right? Or if you're taking your kids skating, or the grandkids came over, whatever the case is, don't be afraid to post that, because your database and your clientele want to see that you have time for yourself. A lot of realtors are afraid to post when they go to their cottage because they think my client's going to say I have too much time on my hands, that I can go on a vacation, right? People want to see that. They want you to have fun. So be personal with it, and I'm telling you, you're going to see a difference.
Liliana, we will be sending this recording out to everybody for sure. For me, James, I mentioned it earlier, but the Facebook group for your advocates. I mean, I have a group of advocates. We do special things for our advocates. Why not just create that group for them where they can interact? Now, of course, not everybody's on Facebook, but at least for those who are, because it's a small group. For me, with the massive amounts of people in our database, my core advocates are still about 30, maybe 40 at the most.
And that's what you want. Like my core advocates are under 40, like both age and in my group. But that's my core, right? Those are the ones that I'm either going to run into at Fashion Week, I'm going to have dinner with, or they're in a partnership that are friends with Scott as well. And that makes it easier too. It helps when they're connected with your spouse, right? I know people want to keep that separately, but a lot of my realtor clients that are in relationships are so connected with Scott and invested in what he does that it makes it really easy to book a group dinner, because they all connect with each other. And then the spouses can sit and talk, and the rest can talk about real estate, and it's just a good vibe.
Michael said communicating with the groups you are going to reach out to before your posts.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Michael.
And this is something I always say, and this was a good reminder for me too, and I always say it to other people, and I have to say it to myself, is don't mess up good for perfect. It doesn't have to be ideal. Just do it. Just get something out there, because even if you make a mistake, it's almost like you want someone to at least acknowledge that you're doing something. Yeah. And they'll engage with you if you make it. I know someone that makes typos purposely because people reach out to them and they get engagement out of it.
Can I tell you, Janice, that I do that once a week on purpose? And to see who catches it. I always—
Maybe you told me.
We might have talked about this if you were there in person last year, but I always like to mix the word no and no with the KN and just the NOW, or sorry, no and now, and see who catches it, right? And there's usually about 5 people every week who catch it. Like, James, you made a mistake again. I'm like, oh, I know, right? I'm just waiting for the person to DM me so I can fix it.
It's like, what? Thank you so much for letting me know.
Because if they've taken the time to read your post, and I always like to do it near the end, right? Because the first 2 lines you can skip it, but if you're doing it near the end of that post, they're taking the time to read that post, and they're engaged and they care about what you are doing.
That's actually, I want to add something to that. And quite some time ago, one of our colleagues down in somewhere in the US, I can't remember, she said something that stuck with me for such a long time. People like to lurk, and you never know who's paying attention to what. And that's why you always want to be, very specific and very intentional, careful to a point, because you never know who's watching, and then you never know who's actually paying attention. And you want to make sure that you're doing things that when people pay attention to, you can either engage with them or just make sure that they're interacting in a positive way.
There's silent watchers. I mean, how many of you have been to the grocery store or something and someone came up to you and said, oh, did you have fun in Dallas? And it's like, how'd you know I was in Dallas? It's like, oh, I saw it on your Facebook. But they didn't comment, they didn't follow, they didn't, like or anything like that. But there's this lurkers or silent watchers.
I got a how was your chili last night once.
Yeah, it's that creepy shit that sometimes makes you smile. But not to backtrack, but Michael talked about it earlier about engagement, right? So don't focus so much on the amount of followers, and never focus on likes. Like, I know we live in the housewife and Kardashian generation where things about likes and being perfect. I look at views, right? So I look at my stories, and I might get 200 to 500 likes on a post, but I might get 2,000 views on a story. That to me is more important, because I know what people are looking at. Right? So don't focus much on how many likes you get on a post, because to Janice's point, there are creepers, there are stalkers, and the silent ones are sometimes your best advocates.
James, thank you so much. We so appreciate your time. I'll look forward to seeing you in person whenever we can possibly do that again. Thanks everybody for being here with us.
Bye guys.
Signing off. Bye-bye.